Welcome back to Camping with Idiots. I'm Fresh and this is your dog. And today we went and took a trip to the Curragh. The area we're in at the moment was called Belch's Hollow. Seemingly Belch's means beautiful imprint on the face. So I suppose, yeah, it's definitely a beautiful imprint on the face of the Curragh. It's formerly now known as Donnelly's Hollow. This is the lovely Donnelly's Hollow, and it was renamed over 200 years ago in the 1800s in honour of a man called Daniel, or more famously known as Dan Donnelly. Dan was the first Irish-born heavyweight boxing champion, and of course back then boxing was bare fist knuckle fighting, so you know he was a rough man. But yeah, Dan was born in Dublin on March 1788. He was the 9th child of 17 children, so no wonder he could fight, huh? Dan was formerly a carpenter by trade, and I suppose his fighting skills came in when he was in a Dublin pub, and due to an altercation with some bully, or they say a travelling sailor, picked on his poor frail father. So well, I don't know how true that is or whatever, but I'm sure whoever it was very sorry that they'd done it. But so now you're wondering, what's the connection to the Curragh here? Well, seemingly the news obviously spread that Dan could hold his own in a brawl. So he came to the attention of a Captain William Kelly, who was a horse trainer here in Maddenstown. And seemingly he also seen Dan demolishing people during a coffee shop brawl or something. So he took Dan to his brother's place in Calverstown near Cuchulainn, where he trained to be a boxer, obviously. Dan's first fight was here against an English boxer called Tom Hall. The fight was ended after 20 minutes due to controversy. Seemingly the boxing rules were much different back then, that when you went to ground, basically the round was finished and you had 30 seconds to you had a 30-second rest and then get up and start fighting again. And seemingly Tom Hall kept going down onto his knees even though there was no one near him, just so he could get that 30-second rest. So obviously Dan was getting fed up with this, and seemingly when Tom went down on his knee again, Dan clocked him one in the earlobe, and they were all shouting that it was a foul, and so they wanted to make the fight a draw, but seemingly a lot of Dan's fans were giving out, so in the end I think they awarded it to Dan. And of course Dan spent 5 days after that in a tavern in Cuchulainn, drinking, or as we say, getting pished, celebrating his win. Dan's second and most famous fight was here against an English boxer called George Cooper. It was in on the 13th of November 1815, although it does say 13th of December on this. They've realised now, they found out that it was published, well, the whole fight was published on the Freeman's Journal and Daily, was it the Daily Commercials Advertising or something like that? Not 100% of that, but seemingly there was over 20,000 people turned out, and as you can see on the hollow here, would be absolutely perfect for people to stand up and look down at a boxing match. Now you can imagine the bets were going not only for obviously who would win, but who would draw first blood and who would be knocked down. Also, they say there's a ballot or something that says that William Kelly's sister seemingly betted her whole estate on Dan winning, and seemingly I think in the 5th round or something it says that she basically gave him a piece of sugar cane and whispered, was it, be my charmer, give him a warmer. So seemingly after that he kind of got up and started fighting really well. Can you imagine being a spectator standing up here on the hills looking down? The fight lasted 11 rounds till Donnelly's right arm smashed Cooper's face and basically knocked him out. Actually, he broke his jaw. Well, after the fight, I suppose you're wondering where all these footsteps came from. Dan's fanatical followers actually dug out his footprints. This is where he walked to a waiting carriage to go home back to Dublin. This time he didn't go back to the taverns. They were asking him, all the pubs were asking around to go, but he'd promised his family that he would go and celebrate with them. And can you imagine, this is uphill. Imagine after a fight coming up here. Ooh. So obviously the wire wouldn't have been here at that time, but a carriage would have been sitting there waiting for him. Of course, out of the prize money, Dan bought 4 pubs in Dublin. Unfortunately, never made any money out of them. And there's actually one only in existence today, and that's Fallon's Captain Bar. And the bar itself is actually 400 years old. Sadly, Dan died in 1820 at the age of 31. And as you can see, they got the death right, but obviously they didn't get his birth, which was 1788. They say over 70,000 people turned out for his funeral. He was laid to rest in Bullsey area in Kilmainham. Now this is where the story has a twist. Not long after Dan was laid to rest, he was dug up by grave robbers and they sold him on the black market, but he ended up getting sold to a surgeon called Hall. Now some say that he'd been dug up for Hall himself, so by basically they were working under orders, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Dan's followers tracked him down, and there was obviously they were threatening him and everything like that. So it was quite a quick negotiation that he agreed to give the body back, as long as he could keep the right arm. I suppose they thought, well, maybe he'll put the arm back after he was finished with it and that. But the arm was actually preserved in red lead paint and sent to a medical college in Scotland. And from there then in Scotland it was sold to a Victorian travelling circus. So it travelled all around England, Ireland, till it ended up with a bookmaker in Belfast. And from there then he got rid of it. He had it in a pub there, and he thought it was scaring away his customers, so he got rid of it. But it ended up then in Kilcullen, in the pub called the Hideout, where it was for over 43 years till the pub was sold. Then it disappeared for a bit, and then it obviously reappeared, and it was actually went travelling around America. It went to New York. I think it was in New York, the Irish something in New York, and then it travelled around. But it was back here last year during the National Heritage Week. They had it actually displayed here in Kilcullen again. Now, I suppose many people, some of them want the arm to be put back with Donnelly, but a lot of others they'd like to see it back here in Kilcullen and that. But I know it's in private ownership now, so as you can see, a little hollow in Curragh holds such an extraordinary story, and so it's very sad to think this memorial was put up in 1838, and there's been nothing really there since to show that Dan was actually here. As you can see, most of what was on the stone is illegible, so it's very sad that it's been left like that, like that they haven't actually came down and put even just beside it, or another stone beside it, or something down to actually be read and to tell everyone where exactly Dan Donnelly fought, his life and all that, because we know so much more now than back then about Dan. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and we'll see you out there camping. Well, here we're going to have a break. And you can see your dog is actually up on you can see it. It's like a chair. It gives him a bit of height because he likes to look out. Also have his strap for when we are driving along. At least he has his kind of seatbelt that clicks into him.